Hi guys, I'm Shmee. Hello to you. Welcome back to the channel and welcome already to the first adventure in the BMW M5. We've just picked it up from the BMW Welt, the factory in Munich, and driven it straight over to the Nurburgring, 600 kilometers or so, because this weekend is the N24. I'm joining BMW. We've got a lot of things planned, including today, driving the M5 around the Nordschleife as part of the M Corso parade. But before we do so, I wanted to answer some questions, run over the specification of this car, and explain how a car from the BMW M press fleet has come to be in the Shmee 150 fleet that I'm going to be driving for the coming months. So let's get started and take a proper look around the new M5. Before I run over the full page list of options, and believe me, there are a lot of them, the spec of this M5 is incredibly nice. But let's tell you more about what is essentially a long-term loaner. So I don't technically own this car, I haven't leased it either. It is a long-term test car from the BMW M press fleet. What that means though is that I have the keys, it lives in my garage, and I can take it pretty much anywhere I'd like to create content, to enjoy the experience and share it with you, to see what the BMW M5 experience is like. Now, a big thing about that for me is it means coming here to the N24, joining BMW at the Le Mans 24 hour as well next month, also going to do various things around Munich, like picking it up in the Welt, also going to visit the factory Individual as well, and plenty more to come in the future. So the significant benefit of this is it lets us see what different experiences are like, and I can share those with you. So the M5 journey starts here. Let's head around the front and talk about the spec. The track itself is over in that direction, and you may be able to hear cars blasting around in the background as there's a pre-race going on, and also plenty of helicopters flying overhead. But let's get started with the M5, and I think the place to begin is the paint colour. Now this is Donington Grey. Those of you that are familiar with my channel will know that typically I prefer cars in rather brighter colours, but it has to be said, this is surprising me. There's a depth to the metallic paintwork. It's almost a liquid silver-esque colour, and it looks incredibly smart, especially in this configuration, also with the wheels and the calipers on the ceramic brakes that we'll take a look at in a moment. Now I'm not going to go into too much detail about the M5, just some headline facts and figures, but do check out my full first drive on track in Estoril if you'd like to know a lot more. You may be familiar, it has a 4.4 litre twin turbocharged V8. It introduces the M xDrive system for the first time in a non-X car, so it's all-wheel drive with the capability of making it just rear-wheel drive should we prefer, so we'll experiment with that in due course. To start us off around the front, you have the traditional dual kidney grills, but between them you will notice there is a sensor there, and there is also a sensor there. We've got the driving assistance package with the adaptive cruise control, so of course that also adds to it the active protection, the pre-safe technology where the car will detect if anything's happening in front, alert you and bring the car to a standstill if required. Coming around, we've got the full headlights. They have a very, very fancy system that basically mean, well, not only do they tilt from side to side, but they block out parts of the view in front of you if there's an oncoming vehicle. Big fan of those, the adaptive LED lights. Continuing around, the optional 20-inch 706M style wheels, painted in gloss black as you can see, and tucked in behind those, we have quite an expensive option, the 9,000 euros or so carbon ceramic brakes. Now what you have to remember is this is a 2-ton vehicle or so. It needs a lot of continuous stopping power. If you're going to be braking hard regularly, especially with the weight of this car, the brakes could very easily overheat, so we don't want that at all. Coming round to the back, we've got the M Sports exhaust option. There is also an option above that from the M Performance parts. This sounds pretty good. I'll get to know it more as we push the car further in due course. Standard things with the M5, you get the boot lip spoiler and the lovely M badging that you have around the car. But the big thing about M5s is that they aren't screaming and shouting initially. They are quite smart and subtle vehicles. So let's come all the way back around, past another little M5 badge that we have there, to check out the interior. So the car has keyless unlocking as standard. We have the normal key. It was optioned with the display key, so BMW's lovely touchscreen interface key, but I don't have that, unfortunately. They've kept that back at the factory. One slight small thing, but let's step in here where distinct highlights of the M5 are now introducing these red M1 and M2 fixed buttons on the top. The red start-stop button. We've got the gorgeous digital display that still has these trim pieces around the outside, which I think give it a really nice touch rather than just having a plain digital screen. The seats and general interior is in merino leather, Schwarz, which is of course German for black. But let's take a step in where we can see some more of the trim options. For example, we have the carbon fibre, the satin carbon fibre effect dashboard with this chromed trim around the outside of it. We've got the option for the ceramic bezels that you have around the various different dials and controls that you have in the car. We've got the M seat belts, so you can see with the M stripe up the side of them. I think that is a really, really nice thing. I particularly enjoy that. But basically, it is loaded from a technology point of view. Typically, you could set your name so that it would say welcome to whoever you are as you entered the car. But I have basically brought up the list of options here because it is very, very long. So excuse me for a second while I just basically take this in and look at everything that we've got on this car. It is absolutely boiling here. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining because often at the Nurburgring the weather can be horrible, but it does mean I'm going to start up the engine and get some air conditioning blowing. The V8 comes into life. We've also got comfort access, so the steering wheel moved itself. Of course, we've got electric seats for the front passengers, heated seats for the front and rear of the car. We've also got a heated steering wheel, although I'm not the biggest fan of those. I find it rather uncomfortable to have a hot steering wheel in your hands. You can see then the controls for the lane guidance, the adaptive cruise control that we have through here, and then your media controls. So from this side of things, it's actually quite interesting. Obviously, we've got the DAB radio option, we've got the preparation for Apple CarPlay, we've also got the connected online entertainment. So this is where you have access to music from an online service. There is a lot in there and it works very well, especially with the Harman Kardon sound system that the car is fitted with. We've also got the gesture control, so we can raise and lower the music, go to the next track, literally using inputs with your hand, and I love doing that. It's such a fun thing. We've got the options for the various different assistance systems that the car has through here that you can see, just to get some of what you get from that driving assistance package and the options that are installed onto this M5. And then here we've got a new gear stick, the 8-speed automatic that the car now has. Huge number of settings you can go through, but this is all standard. The setup that you can do with this car and the amount of different things you can configure is perfect for getting the ideal driving setup for you and your mood at that time. But leaving the engine running for a moment just to keep the car getting cool, let's step into the back. Just one or two things to talk about back there. Nice chrome trim actually on the door handles as well. Open the door, we've got the sun protection glass for the rear window and the back windows. Obviously you can't have it by law here for the front windows or the side windows. We've got the M seat belts in the back too. I think those are just so nice. The car also has the through load system, so if you want to get your skis going in through the back or something like that. Rear of the car is finished in the same way as the front with the lovely trim, the satin carbon, and also the black leather going on back here too. The carbon fibre roof is standard. You can get plenty of performance parts for these cars should you wish on top of that, but basically it's all quite highly spec'd to begin with. The one single thing that I forgot was the soft closed doors, and if you know my channel you will find that quite amusing because I am always talking about the soft closed doors. But what we're going to do now is head over to the paddock at the Nurburgring, to the Touristenfahrten entrance, to get started with the M Corso. There will be a lot of BMW M cars of all generations, some of the heritage cars, some of the modern lineup, and this should be quite a lot of fun. So let me just drop a few gears, have a bit of fun, get over there and join the whole group. It's time then to roll out, and there are about 40 cars taking part in this drive. All the sensors have gone off because we're all heading out together. That Performance Parts M4 is spectacularly cool. There is an M4 GTS safety car up at the very front, then a lineup of different M models up in front of us. But we're going out through the Touristenfahrten entrance in a world of M, and obviously the air conditioning is blowing incredibly strongly right now. But this is a full lap of the Nordschleife and the Grand Prix circuit. So the track that they do, well, the full cars do in about 8 minutes and 1 second or so for the full lap. We're probably going to take quite substantially longer than that, but nonetheless, first time outing in what we're calling here my M5, I think. So I'm looking forward to it. It might be slower pace than we might do on other occasions, but hey, look how cool this is. M cars in front, M cars behind. Game on. Out we go onto the tarmac. Alongside the Dottinger Höhe, the main straight, we drive as a close group here. That would be the start line of the N24, the BMW M Power badge across the bridge. We cut through here and rejoin the Nordschleife. We don't actually drive the full Grand Prix track, but away we go on the Nurburgring, where about 100,000 people line the side of the track here as we go round. You can see already quite how busy this is. People camping, making a full weekend out of it. It's actually really busy and we're driving at a decent-ish pace. This is more than I expected, to be completely honest. Look at that line of M cars. M2, M3s, M4 CS, M6 convertible, M4 and our M5. We're coming down towards one of my favourite parts of the circuit, the line of the cars behind us, but this is Foxhole, Fuchsruhe, where you've had your foot flat down the hill, you get to this compression at the bottom, boot it up the other side, holding the car steady, because if you lift, as Misha has told us, your car is liable to end up inside the barrier. This is really fun though, even if we're not necessarily booting it at the moment, because we've got another group right ahead of us, but this is one of the few curves on the track that you want to take just there. Then we come into some tight corners where you can't necessarily see where it goes because it doesn't follow the barriers, but towards the outside, to the inside curve, look at that crowd of people. How cool is this? It's so different seeing the ring like this with all the people, but we come up now towards the famous carousel, where I guess this is going to be quite a cool lineup of cars going through that. Oh, on the brakes. One has to be super careful right now just to not drive into the back of the car in front of us. But here we go, this is carousel. The first cars drop in and going around it. Always good fun, so bumpy. You basically hold this line, look up over that way where you can see the other cars. Get towards the outside, hold it, and out you go, and away we go. And through Brunchen we go, which is incredibly busy. Look at how many people there are here. Awesome. You can see some people have laid down some black lines as well on the ground. And we are basically coming to a stop in Brunchen. Hello everyone. And around the last corner to the gantry at the very end of the Nordschleife. So there we have it, our M Corso. Gosh, look at the number of cars up in front of us. Just a non-stop line of parade cars. So we're going to pull off the track now, and then it'll be time to head around, I think towards the car park to go watch the race, really. This is definitely turning out to be a very enjoyable start to this adventure with the M5, but there we have it, a run through of the specification, all of the options that are fitted to this car. The total price, if you're interested actually, is 148,300 euros for this spec on the M5. Also though, driving it around the Nordschleife already, it might have been a parade lap with the M Corso, and hopefully I'll get an opportunity to drive it on track again in the future. But either way, good fun, good times. I know some of you will be wondering about the run-in process. Because it's a car from the press fleet, it already had 3,000 kilometers on the clock, hence why we've already driven it on the Autobahn and now around the track as well, without having to wait the typical time you would need to do for the engine to run in and be prepared to be revved up to the very max. Anyway, that is it for now. I'm going to go back over to watch the race, see the cars on track, and I'll catch up with you again very, very soon. Thanks again, guys, and I'll see you then. Cheers!